Welcome back to the City Palms podcast. This is episode 67. How are you doing, Danny? Me and you haven't had an episode, just me and you in a while. Let's just check up on each other for a second.
I know. I'm good. I know. All day at work, really, I was having these topics where I was like, I need to talk to Brian about this and see what's good. And I was thinking, yeah, we haven't done. We need to get that done. I know.
We do.
It's crazy because doing our podcast and scheduling like how we're gonna do it, we schedule in guests because we like this is a guest-based podcast.
We don't schedule us
Yeah,
episodes.
it's the most important one, and we will do a us episode if we have to. But yeah, I think they're important overall. You and I episodes.
Yeah, because we love talking about like hip hop and skateboarding and all the topics that are a part of our lives, but we can't talk about that with everybody. And today is a little bit different of an episode because this one is going to be a little bit politically driven. We're going to keep it casual, though. It's not going to get too, like, policy heavy or anything like that. Because me and Danny, you know us, like, we don't really talk politics that much. We don't know politics that much. And we're not going to front like we do. So this is just going to be a casual conversation. Today we've got Rachel Brown. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I like your
Happy to
mask.
be
Branded
here.
mask.
Thank you. Yeah, it has my name on it and my logo.
So there's a lot we could get into right off the bat just because you've been super busy lately with everything you have going on. But I think we should just start from the beginning and just kind of, like, get to know you as a person, let the listeners get to know you as a person. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, well, you said earlier you're from Naples. So born and raised, like
Yeah.
us, we're not from Naples, but that's always cool to meet, like, especially people our age. I feel like a lot of people that go to FGCU aren't from here, but it's always nice to meet someone who is, like, from here. So it's, like, it's good.
Yeah, true Southwest Florida native here.
Yep.
Did you go to high school in Naples?
No, actually, well, for a year I did. My mom was really keen on putting me in private Christian school, so I went to Evangelical Christian in Fort Myers, and my mom drove me there every morning.
Dang.
And then I went to a public school in Naples, Palmetto Ridge, for a year.
How was that, in your opinion? Like, because you did both. You did private and public. I would like to do the same route with my children whenever that time comes, like a private school rather, just because I don't know personally. I don't really know what a private school is too much like, but I know what a public school is like, and it's not really like, I don't know. It's just not as much what the kids learn, but like the people around them so much. I don't know. It can be kind of toxic. But in your opinion, what was that like? Private school and public school?
Well, I was actually homeschooled when I was a little kid, so I got all the experiences.
Dang.
Homeschooling, I don't recommend. I think it's really important to have social interactions with other kids when you're young, especially. But, and the private school, there were some ups and downs. I would say definitely had more rigorous work to do, like way more than public schools that I've been to. So I understand that side of it, but I think that I could have gotten even better education if I went to public school and just did AP classes. And I would have gotten the credit. So in private school, you can't take AP classes a lot of the time. So
That makes sense, yeah. Yeah, you did AP in high school, right?
Yeah, I did the ACE program, which is like the same thing where you're getting college credits for doing high school classes.
that's cool.
And everything's weird now with I gotta say props. I can hear her more clearly than some people we've had, and she's got a mask on and everything. So
That's good.
And editing is gonna be easy. I'm not gonna have to sync up the lips.
That's funny.
But yeah, with schooling nowadays, I feel like is like so much different. Like with everything going on, like it's almost like we already are going into a new normal with education because in like, our family, young kids in our family, our nieces and nephews and stuff, they're doing the stay-at-home route where they're learning from home for right now.
Cool.
And it's cool. It's really cool to see like the whole family get involved in their education and them to get excited about getting on the computer to do their work and stuff. Granted, I don't see the whole story, so there's probably plenty of belly aching, but the social interaction, I feel like to do the stay-at-home route, I just wonder how it's going to look long term. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Like, what's the social interaction effect going to be on kids that are brought up in this generation of COVID? I don't know, but it's, the teachers are doing a lot right now. I talked to a woman that was on this school, or she's running for school board. She was saying it's about half the kids in the school district that are doing online and half are in person. They have to wear masks. And so if they're in person, they can't work in groups. But if they're online, they can work in groups, but it's virtual. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, there's give and take to both situations. And I think they said they had 7 COVID cases across Lee County in the schools. So
have you seen any like classroom settings or seen
No.
like the kids at work? I haven't either, and I wonder what it looked like. Because, you know, like from my experience, you know, when we were in school, people would, like, I think you were saying, like, when you're in school, you won't obey the rules just for the sake of not obeying the rules. Because it's like, oh, you can't tell me what to do. I don't even like gum, but I'm going to chew gum because you told me not to chew gum. You know what I mean? Like, some kids are just like that. In, like, the later years, like middle school, high school, you know? So I'm thinking if you're telling kids, like, hey, you need to wear a mask at these times of day, or, like, when you're around, like, these people, you need to have a mask on, or whatever. It's just, like, I don't know. It's risky, but I think it's necessary because the alternative, just having schools closed for the whole near future, is even scarier, I think.
Yeah, they're definitely working at it. And yeah, I do have that fear of, like, I mean, our kid, like, because if the kid has a parent that doesn't take COVID seriously, then that's going to endanger all the other kids, you know?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's, it's worrisome, but I don't really know firsthand. I know one woman who's helping me a lot in my campaign. She has a kid, and she's doing the online stuff with her kid, and it's kind of nice because, like, they're home, so you get to like really be. I feel like my generation a lot of times didn't have time with their parents. Like dads worked a lot, you know.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a different dynamic now, so hopefully that's the good part of things.
Maybe it'll bring back the whole, like, when we were kids, I feel like we all were, like, out in the street playing with the neighborhood kids, you know? And, like, I feel like, maybe it's just my perspective, I'm not, like, out and about as much as I was, but, like, I don't see that as much anymore. I don't see, like, games of kickball going on in, like, in street corners and stuff like that, you know? Maybe this will bring that back, because if lots of kids are staying at home for the school, then they'll only have, like, you know, their family and friends on the road to kind of like go out and interact with, you know what I mean?
And you know what you don't see anymore either, and it's something I saw all the time when we were kids that is just like instilled in us because we were doing it constantly, as the Play 60 commercials. How they used to advertise that kids got out for 60 minutes a day. Yeah. And now I feel like those commercials are more important than ever, because with kids being at school, like a lot of kids, bro, like you, and it didn't apply for you and me and Zach, we were all like, you know, us and all our friends were active and stuff, but a lot of kids, that's their only physical activity is in school, the PE, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
And like if you're not having that, I think it's very important that, like, you know, you at least got to see these Play 60 commercials. And so I would say, if anyone's listening, like parents or whatever, this is just an idea that I had. If I had kids that were in school and then I chose to do the online school, I would like link up, because like with parents in your community, because like, you know, with Ring doorbell apps, you know, they have like the ring camera thing. So they have like a community with, if anyone in your community, say you live on a cul-de-sac, you know, Adams Circle, well, we don't live there. So this circle of people that live on this community, if everyone had, or the people that had Ring, you go into a Ring community chat. So if you can do that with the people around you that are in the same school, you could link up, your kids could link up at the playground or whatever and get that like recess in or that. I think that's necessary for a lot. I know I would be dying if I was a kid and didn't have like physical activity, and then on top of COVID, your parents are like, no, you can't go outside, you can't, like, you know, you can't really go and play with your friends like you used to. I'd be like, what do you mean? I think that's important to instill.
And even like local libraries and stuff. I was at the library the other day after they opened, and I saw like families sitting in there doing their schoolwork. I don't know if because like the parent with the car was out at work and the other parent was there at the library with the kid all day, but that's really cool. I love seeing that, because like for me, the library was kind of like the place that like we spent so much time at the library, you know, like whether it was on the computer playing little games or like reading comics or writing or drawing or whatever, like we just spent time in the library. And I think it's like a really special place in my heart. But anyways, we appreciate what you do as far as like current time from your environmentalist standpoint. You know, that's how I first came across what you do and when I met you, because it was at the climate march. I went to FGCU. What was that, like a year ago? It was like 6 months ago.
It was actually almost a year ago, the 27th. What day is it today?
It was September 27th?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's the 23rd today.
Oh
so
my
almost a
gosh.
year ago. Yeah,
Close.
so I went there I randomly saw a flyer because Gohan. This ain't your episode.
This guy.
1 second. Gohan.
For anyone just listening, Gohan just jumped up on the couch. He's wanting some camera time right now. Gohan, get up out there.
I think he's looking straight at the camera. Yeah, that was the September 20th was the global climate strike. And then that was like right before I had started the Sunrise chapter. They're a environmental action group, those of you who don't know. But I had just started the chapter, and then it was like this global climate strike that I was supposed to prepare for. So I had like a pamphlet each day of the week had like a little action to do. And then the 27th was this big climate march that a friend of mine organized. And yeah, that's where me and Brian met.
Yeah, because we did the local legend segment back then, and I just saw, because it was like super inspiring just being there at FGCU and seeing like lots of like-minded people all come together for a good cause, and like speeches. You gave a speech, right? And
A little speech.
yeah, and it was cool. And then I went up to your table afterwards and just like kind of we swapped info, and then eventually it led to you running and doing what you are currently. But back to
Yeah.
FGCU, was that your first? Because I know you're really into like gardening and stuff like that too. What was your first kind of passion moving into the college world?
You mean like with my major or like?
Yeah, just your goals and stuff moving into college.
Well, let's see. Well, I picked my major because I knew I wanted to do something environmental because in high school, I just felt like there was this kind of lack of attention towards climate change, and I remember looking in a textbook and looking at the graph of since the industrial era, we've seen that's when the spike started, because we started using more fossil fuels naturally. And my teacher kind of made light of it, my science teacher. And I saw the disconnect, right, between the teacher and the textbook. And I think that kind of like that moment kind of like sparked more of my interest in like seeing that there was a lack of attention to those things. And I went into college kind of wanting to do environmental engineering because I knew about like issues with people not having access to clean water around the world. I didn't really know how that was going to solidify, or how it was going to manifest, in other words. But I eventually picked environmental engineering because I felt like that was something I couldn't teach myself, right? So, and I was undeclared for a while. I like to be very thorough, like very sure about things, so like I was undeclared and I took a bunch of classes just to make sure that this is what I wanted. And I was actually an art major for a while. That was pretty fun. But eventually it came down to I can't teach myself how to be an engineer, so I'm going to do this. So
did you grow up in a household where it was super encouraged about or like at least taught about recycling and reduce, reuse, recycle, and just kind of
really.
Your carbon footprint?
Not really. No. No, but definitely like going to college was an expectation. So, and I kind of learned a lot of that stuff in college with my degree, and also just being at FGCU, there's a lot of environmentally minded people. So, and then I started going towards like the organizing and action side of things, and that's what led me to want to start the Sunrise Hub. So
because I remember when I was a prospective student going to like Eagle orientation and stuff like that, they were given statistics as far as the school itself, what it is statistically as far as the nation, a green school or whatever. Do you know those stats off the top of your head?
Yeah, we're a green school, certified green school in Florida. Where are we the only one, or are we? I think we're the only green school in Florida at the time that was a long time ago.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but I remember at the climate march, things were changing, right? Like with Sunrise and everything, there were like certain changes happening in the school as far as policy goes. That or you were trying to make changes to make it more of a green school. Is that right?
That's actually awesome. I was working towards a FGCU Green New Deal. So it's the Green New Deal. It's kind of like FDR's jobs program, but it's about green jobs. So it's like, how can we stimulate the economy and address climate change at the same time? And so I was organizing around that, trying to get like-minded people to come together and put together some kind of Green New Deal for FGCU. And that kind of broke out into, well, how can we like make it on like all of Lee County? And then like, what if we make it bigger? And, you know, throughout like having meetings and stuff and organizing, it was like, it's crazy how time flies, right? Because then a year has passed, COVID happened. A lot of people that were coming to the meetings were small, you know, because it was just started. So when COVID hit, everybody went home and it kind of dwindled into hiatus.
Yeah.
But now I'm running for Senate and I'm connected with these people who wanted to have kind of that same thing. So we have the Florida Climate and Economic Defense Initiative now solidified in paper, and it's an actual legislation for Florida.
Awesome.
So it's
That's
like,
sick.
yeah. So, and not even like I joined in and other comrades, you know, so, it's cool that other people are wanting the same thing as me. And it's like, I've been able to come into something so much larger than what I thought what it was going to be, you know? So, so hopefully, you know, something like a FGCU Green New Deal can come together. I'm not taking classes now because I'm running for Senate, but, you know, eventually, hopefully there will be a little FGCU Green New Deal.
Yeah, and it's crazy, like, it's to the point, not only in an environmentalist standpoint, but just, like, the world in general, with everything going on, like, in our country and in the world and the pandemic and everything, it's, like, it gets to a point where you just get fed up with things not, like, improving or changing, you know what I mean? And it gets to the point where, like, you know, we look up to these people that are, like, politicians and whatever that are like, okay, can you make the changes? Like, I'll vote. Can you make the good changes? But really, at the end of the day, it's like, let's make the changes. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why it's cool to see someone our age, like really putting their foot down. And, like, and that's why, you know, the whole BLM movement and everything was cool to see recently, because there were so many kids our age, younger than us, older than us, all getting together for this good cause that has nothing to do with environmentalism, but just, you know, fighting for the sake of good is something that we're all about, you know?
Yeah, that brought to mind something at a protest I was at, a Black Lives Matter protest. I was on the back of a truck holding a sign, and I saw two kids, like maybe 12, 14, looked like they were on a date, and they joined in our protest, and it was just really cool, you know?
Yeah, and also social media is ugly in so many ways, but social media was pretty beautiful during some of that, because you got to see, like, firsthand perspective of some of these, like, events and protests and stuff. Like, so many people with their live videos, like, showing exactly what's going on. And granted, there's a lot of ugly stuff happening out there that was documented on social media, but also, like, it was really cool to just be scrolling and see, like, just a beautiful, peaceful protest, and like everyone, just like a crowd of people all together. And especially from our point of view, like, through the podcast, we've met a lot of people around here that have the same sort of, like, drive as us, and we saw lots of those people all getting together. And yeah, it's just really awesome. I kind of went off on a tangent. Should we take a break real quick before we go any further?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break just to remind you, Nothing is a Coincidence shirts are almost gone. So if you still want one, you can, hit our line, hit us up on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, and get you a shirt while you can. Enjoy the ads. We'll be right back for part 2.
Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing by reading this ad. And let me tell you guys a little bit about Anchor. So, like I said, it's a one-stop shop, distributing. You put your podcast on. It couldn't be easier to use. My brother and I, when we started this podcast, we're looking around for a website. Where do we get our podcast up and running? How do we get it? Literally those exact questions. How do we get it on iTunes? How do we get it on Spotify? And I was trying to do that stuff by myself. And that's when I started looking up. And there's other ones you can use like J-Pod and all that. But let me tell you, Anchor, nobody's gonna do it as great as Anchor, and most of all, it's free. So that's what you always do, man. That's what you love, is Anchor being free. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. Once again, that's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the ads. So to get right into it, you had mentioned a couple times before we went on break that you're running for Senate. Mm-hmm. So what does that entail? Like, what exactly is Senate as far as the political branches go?
Oh, yeah. So I'm running for state Senate. So on a federal level, you have the president, and then you have the Senate and the House. And on a state level, you have the governor in the state Senate and the state House. So I'm running for state Senate. And so it's a pretty high power in the state of Florida.
For sure.
So, yeah.
So that was what one question I had was District 27. Is that, how many Senate members are there in the state of Florida?
Yeah, there's 40, believe. Yeah. Oh my God, if I got that wrong, no, there's 40. But the Senate district, because there's less of us, there is, and we have a higher power. So the House, there's like 4 House districts within my district. So there's a lot more House people than there are Senate.
Is it? I mean, I'm sure it is, but how intimidating is it, especially at the get-go, like when you take on a task like this? Because like you're reaching, you're reaching for a high goal,
Yeah.
and it seems like you're doing everything in your power to get there.
Yeah.
And how intimidating is
It wasn't, so it gets more intimidating every day when it gets closer to election day, because you're like, oh my God, like it's my first time running, and I didn't exactly I wasn't planning to run. Like, I'm getting my degree, and I put my degree on hold for this. But it was just kind of necessary right now, because of everything that's happening with bad environmental legislations and with bad COVID legislations. And so it's like the guy who I'm running against, I'm running to defeat him so that he will not get
he's known as
in
Sugar
power.
Ray, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so he's known as Sugar Ray for his donations from Big Sugar and from other agricultural groups. But, yeah, a lot of money behind him, a lot of special interest. So, I kind of got derailed at one point. I was saying it gets more serious every day. Yeah, I wasn't really anxious when I first started. I was like, well, it needs to be done, so I'll do it. So
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
so-
Congrats to you for like
Thank
bossing
you.
up and doing that.
Thank you.
And-
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I want to ask, like, how's it, like, what made that decision, like, as far as, because you said you did it to ultimately, like, make sure that the guy that is running against you doesn't get elected.
Yeah.
But what ultimately, like, what went off in your head? Like, what flipped?
Was there a
switched?
moment that was just like,
where you were like,
this is
I
what I
have
need
to
to
do
do?
this. This is what I have to do.
Well, it was the situation at hand. So first, my partner Ansem got recruited to run it was an organized effort by people that wanted to see this wave of progressives running. And what happens in Florida is a lot of times Democrats don't even run. And so it's basically just the party that has the most money ends up being able to just walk into the seat because they've already fundraised. Like my opponent had already fundraised $500,000, for example, to intimidate anyone who would try to run against them. Because it's like, how can you logistically go after that amount of money? Because that money is going to be used for ads, all for ads. And so it's just this game of whoever has the most money. Yeah. Right. But then when you're on a shoestring budget, it's how can you use your money the most effectively? But the moment that I knew I was going to run, so Janelle Christensen, the president of the Democratic Environmental Caucus, had met me through me being involved with Sunrise. And she told me that this guy had an F rating by the caucus. And I was like, well, I mean, is there anybody else? Because, I'm getting my degree. I thought I would do something like this one day, but not now. I don't, like my partner has a bachelor's in history. I don't. I wasn't really politically involved until Sunrise. Mm-hmm. So, but it was just the urgency from her coming from someone in that position. Mm-hmm. She knows the situation's bad. Yeah. And if it wasn't really bad, she wouldn't be asking me to do it. Yeah. So, I took a day to think about it, and I was also talking with the Rights of Nature people, and now I'm on the board of Rights of Nature. So that was like, I was going to do that before I was going to do this. And then I thought, well, I can advocate for a legal right to clean air and water, which most people don't know that you don't have, but you don't have that right. And if I have this platform to talk about those things, and to talk about people needing healthcare and healthcare not being expanded in Florida, I was just kind of thought about it for a day, and then I was like, well, I guess I'm going to do it.
That's huge. That's huge. That's so crazy too. Like, I can only imagine. I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and like, if I was in that position, you have to make huge decisions very fast. You don't have a lot of time to think too much about it. But yeah, again, like, that's huge. Congrats to you for stepping up and doing that. That's huge.
And I like to think about it, like, off the air, we were talking about like anime and stuff before this, and like one of the reasons that I enjoy watching stuff like that so much is because it's like you hear, or any fictional story for that matter, you hear a story about someone who's like got all the odds against them and like this huge power that is like seems unbeatable, and then that person, through like whatever training they go through or whatever, can come out on top for the sake of good. And it's like, and that's why I like to hear stories about you with like this shoestring budget, but you have like the heart of gold and like the right intentions, and with the right people behind you, you're gonna be able to beat that big superpower, because it isn't all about money, and this world is so driven by money. But I feel like with everything, like we said in part one, with all this stuff going on, it's kind of making everyone realize like something's gotta change, because this stuff's not right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Avatar, The Last Airbender. My partner put me onto that show. It was really good. Our whole house watched it. Yeah, it's exactly that. Like, working together, like just the innocence of working together and revolting, saying no, that's not okay. Yeah. It's really cool to be a part of that. Yeah. Manifesting
a better future for us and the future, our offspring and whatnot.
And like you were saying about going against the guy with the big budget, that's oftentimes like, everyone knows that we need change, but oftentimes nobody is going to do, like in this case, what Rachel Brown did and step up, because they're going to say, well, I have no money. He has lots. I have, whatever. They're going to compare. But like, really, once you, like, I'm sure the connections you've made and the people you've met in the network, like it's been amazing. I'm sure completely changed your perspective from like getting in to now being in for this amount of time.
Oh yeah, and I definitely have a lot of regrets, like from the beginning, like just like things like, oh, I should have spent the money on this instead of this, and but you just gotta keep thinking about what can I do right now to make things better,
Yeah.
So
just keep fighting the good fight. And one thing I wanted to ask too, I wanted to elaborate a little bit on the right to clean water and air. What is it, like, to any listeners, what exactly does that mean, that we don't have the right to clean water and air as of right now?
So the reason that we have so much pollution, the Florida legislature has passed in the past 50 years, they've passed over 20,000 pollution permits, and that would not be allowed if the only way that they're legally allowed to do that is because ecosystems don't have rights. But our bodies are dependent on the ecosystems because we're mostly water. And so if we don't have, if our ecosystems don't have the right to function, right, their functionality is being infringed upon every time a slough is destroyed. It can't function as a filter. It can't hold the habitat that it needs to hold. The water gets depuritized the more we destruct. And so if ecosystems have a right to function, then that gives us the legal right to those ecosystems, to access to those ecosystems. So it really comes down to ecosystem rights and our connection to the ecosystem because our lives are dependent on them. So once we have rights of nature, then we'll be able to defend ecosystems in court, and ecosystems won't be able to be infringed upon. They'll be able to have like actual legal ramification. And that's how these people get away with it, because there's no legal ramification, right? So other than things like the Clean Air Act, things like that, but Clean Water Act. Recently, actually, they just passed something called the Clean Waterways Act, which is deceitfully named. It preempts the rights of nature. And so rather than going through rights of nature, we're going through a legal right to clean air and water, because that's what it comes down to. And they also made it easier for industries to pollute in that falsely named legislation.
Wow.
So
that's ultimately like really a bad thing, though, kind of. The
Clean Waterways Act, yeah.
Wow.
It's completely deceitfully named.
Yeah, jeez. And I think that's crazy too. Is like it's the same with like fake news. People see an article, read the title, but not click the article and read it. I think that it's like goes the same. They're seeing Clean Waterways Act and they're saying, "Oh, that
I like clean water."
I like clean." Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And they're not reading the fine print.
Yeah, and that is something that a reporter brought up to me when when we were talking. He was like, "Well, it has like bipartisan support," and that may be true, but you know, there's so many legislations that get passed, you know, and this document is over 100 pages, you know, so it's like,
geez.
who's I guarantee a lot of those legislators just said, "Oh, Clean Waterways Act, cool. I know this guy who worked on it, so I'll sign it."
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And do you have anything you want to add on that?
I was gonna ask, have you explored FGCU a whole lot, the campus, like just around the school and like the boardwalks and stuff like that?
I feel like I have, yeah. I took a field trip there when I was actually in elementary school.
Cause like I feel like a lot of people don't realize like you mentioned a few ways that the ecosystem contributes to our whole community, you know, just as far as like nature goes. And FGCU is a good example of how beautiful the like symbiotic relationship can be, you know, because it's a campus where lots of people are, lots of activities are, but the way, just the clever little ways that humans have found a way to like keep the nature there and preserve it while also functioning our lives. It's like, that's what our whole society should be based around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's anybody who's been to FGCU and enjoyed the nature trail, you know, can see that beauty and the ability for that kind of system to happen. Yeah, I think that that's a good thing that they have nature trails on campus, of course. I have heard that they there is unfortunately some corruption in that they do have a percentage of land that they're allowed to build on the premises, but that includes land that they own that's off campus. So like in Buckingham, they own some land. and they're slowly growing the amount of land that they own. But if that percentage stays the same, then that means that they can build more, right? Adjusted for if they buy more land. So that's why they've been able to construct like the whole South Village bridge to the what is it, University Village.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to keep in mind. That's the kind of thing that happens, just little by little you think, well, we're going to offset this damage by preserving this amount of area. But if you're constantly growing the amount of land you own, and then constantly building more on a percentage of that land, you're never going to get that land back. So so just something to note. Don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I like FGCU's nature trails too.
yeah, it is important. It is important. I wasn't aware of that. A couple things I do want to ask too is, just for anyone listening, is there anything you would, to someone like me who like isn't very well read with some of this stuff, I didn't understand what some of these acts really entail. Is there, now that voting time is coming up and we want to make sure everyone's registered to vote and that you're making your voice heard and everything, is there anything you'd want the listeners to really pay attention to come these upcoming months and whatnot?
Yeah. Well, so essentially when you get a donation from somebody, that person becomes your friend because they only donated to you because you have a common interest. So that's why I don't have a lot of money. So pay attention to that. It's public information. Ballotpedias are very helpful. It'll tell you about the candidate, and it tells you all their donations. So look at that. Look at where they're getting their money from, and look at who else they're working with.
Did you have anything else you want to touch on before we start wrapping it up?
I want to ask, so to touch on earlier, I kind of spoke on how a lot of people won't do something because they're scared of the opposition. And oftentimes I think too, when it comes to politics, a lot of people think something we need to see change in this, but they don't know the steps it takes to actually see the change. So someone like you who's actually in the circle, I want to ask, like, do you know like what actually goes into, like, if you're running for Senate and you say, this is what I want, this is what I think we need, this is the change I think we need to see, like, do you know how long it takes to like put that into play and to fruition?
I think it's about sustained organizing. When a lot of times you start a mission and then it's like, oh, we did a beach cleanup and that's good. So that's kind of like a one-time thing, but organizing is sticking with something. Some people say picking your sacrifice. I'm going to sacrifice my time for this and really seeing it through. So like, and I think that's why I respect Rights of Nature people a lot, because it's not a huge organization, but it is a movement that's led by local municipalities. Find out what's happening locally, like local government. That's where the real action happens. But stick with one thing, because I'm going to run again. I'm going to run for office again if I don't win. And it's because you learn it when you're doing the same thing, you learn. So, the longer that you stick with one goal and get better at it, you can only progress. So, but yeah, if you're trying to get involved, looking for something to do, this camera, right?
Yeah, this one right here.
Okay, yeah. If you're looking for something to do, you can get involved in my campaign or find another local campaign if you're not in Lee County, and just shadow them for the day, help out however you can, and go from there. You'll definitely be swept away and you'll learn a lot.
Heck yeah. And then one thing that we have been asking all our guests before we do come to a close is there anyone off the top of your head that, and there's no name that's too crazy, anyone that you would like to see on an episode in the future?
Oh, wow. Well, my partner Anselm, who's running for state house.
Yeah, his campaign has been interesting me. I've been keep paying attention.
Yeah. Oh, he knows his stuff. You know, he's a history major. He has a very good memory, so he's a good stats guy. You know. And of course, my roommate Claudia. She's a wonderful musician, and her boyfriend Jesse is an artist, and Krister's my other roommate. He'll be left out if I don't say his name, but he's fun. So he knows a lot about nature. He's explored all the nature trails.
Nice.
So
That was the guy that I met, right? The day that we voted.
I think you met everybody.
I did.
You met the whole house.
I did. All right, and then if you wanted to plug anything, like directly, any websites or social media pages or anything, you can look at this camera and just let all the viewers know where they can find you.
Thank you. Well, you can go to my website, rachelbrownforfloridasenate.com. Everything's spelled out. RACHEL, brown like the color. And you can also call me at 239-370-0336 if you just want to chat about my platform. Or if you have any questions at all, I highly recommend calling me. That's my preferred way of contacting me. So, and also I have an event coming up. How did I forget about that?
Yeah, let's talk about the event.
Oh my God, my installation. Yeah, so this moment has been working up towards the whole campaign. I've been slowly putting together these. So we've been collecting old signs and painting them, and so completely reused donated materials. Those are my signs. If you want one, I have them. Call me up. You can rewind the video and call me or text me. And also my installation this Saturday from 9:30 to 3:30. There's 3 different signs you can sign up for. Go to my Facebook page and you'll see the event. You can sign up for a slot. We're going to do a trash pickup that's part of the installation. And we're going to have 10 different huge 4x4 signs going up all around Lee County. So it's going to be really cool.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
And it's this right here. It's like a painted version of this.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's Saturday. What day of the month is that?
This Saturday. Oh, actually, it'll be too late by then.
Oh, yeah.
But they can still have a sign. That's cool.
Yeah,
They can still call me
call
up for
her.
a sign.
I'll take a sign probably.
Okay, awesome.
And then where can they find us at, Danny?
You can find us at City of Palms Podcast. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, we got new episodes coming to your ears every Monday. We're coming to your eyes too on YouTube, so subscribe to that YouTube channel. We're trying
If
to
we reach 1,000 subscribers, is that what you were about to say?
Yeah.
If we reach 1,000 subscribers by episode 100, I'm giving Danny a tattoo. And I've never given a tattoo before or operated a tattoo machine, so that'll be worth watching. So subscribe.
Go and subscribe or don't, because I honestly don't really want a tattoo from him, but you should probably still subscribe, because let's get it there. Let's make it happen, because if we do get there, I will get the tattoo, because it's out there. Rachel Brown, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.
You're on a winning streak. Thank you for coming here.
Yeah, you are truly on a winning streak. This is the beginning of something great.
Yeah.
Rachel Brown, everybody, episode 67.
Hit him with the outro, Soren.
Yeah.